It's fair to say the last few years haven't been a great time to be a Birmingham City fan. It's been more than a decade since they were relegated from the Premier League, and in that time they've had no fewer than 22 different managers, ownership battles and points deductions, but managed to hit a new low last season, sacking manager John Eustace in October with the team in the playoff positions and looking at their best chance in years of a return to the Premier League. He was replaced by Wayne Rooney to instill a winning mentality and a culture of ambition across the club, but got sacked a few months later with just 2 wins from 15 matches, and Birmingham now down in 20th place. Tony Mowbray came in but had to go on medical leave just a month into the job, and his assistant Mark Venus and later interim manager Gary Rowett weren't able to stop the rot, with the Blues relegated to League One for the first time in 29 years. And then to really rubber stamp the misery, while all this was going on, their biggest rivals Aston Villa were enjoying a resurgence under Unai Emery, reaching a semi-final in the Conference League, finishing 4th in the Premier League and qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in 41 years, which is where I come in. My goal is pretty simple: make Birmingham City the biggest club in England within 5 seasons. So that's 5 years to get the club out of League One, back up to the Premier League, and once we're there, finish above Villa, and ideally do so whilst qualifying for the Champions League. Easy peasy. So this squad is up to date as of the start of July. So it's got various new signings, including the utterly inexplicable £2.5 million signing of Bailey Peacock Farrell. I've had a little look through to see what we've got, and if we sort by current ability, very quickly a preferred formation emerges. We've got 2 good defensive midfielders, a good attacking midfielder. Do you see where this is going? A right winger and a left winger. Obviously, we're doing a 4-2-3-1. How could you not in these circumstances? But it is a very small squad. We need to fill it out a little bit. We've only got £1 million to do it with, and we're almost maxed out on our wage budget. But there is a tycoon owner in place. So there's £9 million in the bank. Obviously, facilities-wise, we've got a much bigger stadium than most clubs at this level. So it shouldn't be too hard to bring in enough quality to be able to storm through League One. I mean, if we have a look at the media prediction, we're expected to do that anyway, and a lot of the players in the Dream 11 are Birmingham players too, including the best player in the league. So a little bit of tweaking needed, and then season 1 should be a breeze. And a little bit of tweaking is exactly what we've done. We started things off by letting Janino Bacuna go on loan to Cincinnati. They've paid a fee to loan him until January, but he's also joining them permanently when that loan expires as well. And because of the way Football Manager works, we get the permanent transfer fee now. So we were able to use that money to reinvest. We moved a few of the younger players and fringe players out on loan as well, and then went about adding the missing pieces to the squad. So we've got Braden Manu, who's come in as one of our ESC allocated places. He was available on a free transfer. He is a quick striker who can also play out wide. Previously spent his entire career out in Germany for League One. This guy is stupendous. It's absurd we've been able to bring a guy like this in, and it's frankly also absurd that we can pay him £12,000 a week in salary. We've complemented him with Daniel Gore coming in on loan from Manchester United until the end of the season. Josh Ginelli is also on loan from Swansea until January. He's just basically coming in to give us cover. Jamie Shackleton has arrived from Leeds. He's something of a go-to player for me at this kind of level because of his versatility. He can play fullback either side, defensive midfield, central midfield. Just a very, very versatile cover player. And then we finish things off with a 6'3" centre-back from Watford and a very snazzy looking winger on loan from Crystal Palace until the end of the season. Again, lots of pace. Pace is key in this team. So this is what our best 11 looks like, according to the in-game best 11. We unfortunately did pick up a cruciate ligament injury to Christian Bielik, so he's not able to be involved in the team, which is one of the reasons we brought Daniel Gore in to provide some cover in central midfield. In reality, Sanderson is likely to be starting there alongside Pollock, but it is a very, very strong team, and as you can see, we've had a pretty strong start to the season as well, albeit with a disappointing defeat against Stevenage on the first day of the season. But since then, we've started to rack up the wins, rack up the goals, and as we hit the end of the summer transfer window, we're 3rd in the league and looking good. And that good form very much continued over the first half of the season. As you can see, vast majority of games ending in pretty comfortable wins, including putting 7 goals past Bristol Rovers now most. I mean, this is a 7-4. This is possibly one of the most absurd football matches in the history of the world. All of which, on the 1st of January, leaves us comfortably top of the league, 9 points clear, 2 games in hand as well, and looking very comfortable. We do have a little bit of money to spend, £3.5 million knocking around the place, because the board love to throw cash around, and also our wage budget has increased significantly as well. So there's some money to spend as we go into January, and really, based on how well we're doing and how it's basically a foregone conclusion we're going to get promoted at this point, January is all about starting to assemble players for the championship for next year, which we completely failed to do because any players who were better than the ones we already had didn't want to come in. We managed to bring in this one guy who's basically coming to be a reserve. He's a 2.5-star player who's come in from Bolton. We're just going to have to sit on the cash and wait for the summer. I guess we did move a few of the fringe players out on loan just to get them some game time, and Juninho Bacuna's £2 million move to Cincinnati went through, but otherwise it was very much just a case of standing pat in January and continuing to extend that lead out at the top of the league, going into the final stretch, 9 points clear, 74 points, 2 games in hand. It's all but complete already. And we definitely pushed on from there, finishing the season 18 points clear of Bolton, 108 points, and plenty of very snazzy goals scored along the way. That is what's known in the trade as a very, very dominant season. We managed to get second top scorer in the league as well, coming out of our attacking midfielder, Koji Miyoshi. So that's a pretty decent return for him. What a season this boy has had. And again, got to emphasise, this is League One, and he's being valued at £17 million, which is frankly absurd. Matty Pollock, who was in on loan from Watford, had a really good season as well. It'd be nice to think we'd be able to sign this guy permanently. Definitely a goal threat with his aerial ability from set pieces, but seems unlikely we'd be able to get him permanently. The same with Rak Saki from Crystal Palace. Would love to bring him in permanently. Going to be a little bit of a stretch, but these are the kind of guys we need to replace as we put together our team for next year. We still have our money left over from January. We've had our wage budget increased again to get us ready for the championship, and now we just need to put together a team that isn't going to come straight back down again, which of course means signing players who know their way around this level of football. So first through the door is Danny Ings, who signs on a free transfer. He was released by West Ham. He's come in. Yes, we're paying him an extraordinary amount of money for this level of football, £35,000 a week for a 33-year-old, but Danny Ings knows his way around the championship, has obviously spent the last 10 plus years in the Premier League as well, and should score goals for us at this level. And he is joined by Dan Burn. I said I wanted to replace the goal threat at set pieces. Dan Burn is 6'7". You can't teach that, and he is going to come in and play centre-back after being made to play full-back for Newcastle for the last few years. Previous Birmingham loanee as well, so knows his way around the place, was here 10 years ago, and between Ings and Byrne, that's captain and vice-captain, and 2 experienced heads to build the rest of the team around. And then from there, it was very much just a case of picking up the best free transfers we could find. So Morley Silla is a 27-year-old Guinean international who has come straight in with a transfer value of £22 million, having been released by Aruca in Portugal, and as you can see, started the season very well as well. 7 goal contributions in his first 6 games, playing in that attacking midfield role. Jan Nicholas Best is a German left winger who can also play left back, right. He basically can play everywhere. Again, the values that these players are coming in with, £38 million for this guy, was playing in the Bundesliga last year for Heidenheim. Being able to bring him in and slot him straight into the team, that is a quality signing at championship level. Aitor Cordoba is a Spanish centre-back, can also play in the defensive midfield roles. He's 30 years old, but lots of experience, been playing in the second tier in Spain forever, and should slot in as a squad player for us in the second tier in England. We've then brought in a proper goalkeeper. Alireza Biranvand is an Iranian international, 70 caps for Iran. Never really played very much outside of Iran in his career, but he's played a lot of international football and was better than the keepers we had, and he's 6'4", so he'll do for me. And then we got Daniel James in on loan from Leeds. I can't believe Daniel James is 27 years old. He'll forever be an exciting youngster in my mind, but Leeds played him regularly last season, but decided just to loan him out, so we'll take him for sure. His pace is going to be handy. And then this was an absurd signing. Anyone who's played a lot of Football Manager in the last few years knows how good Arthur Vermeeren is. The fact that we were able to pick him up on loan for the season, absolute insanity in the Championship. He's now at Atletico and played a couple of games for Atletico last season. But yeah, a season-long loan for a player who goes on to be Champions League quality in every version of FM over the last few years is a superb signing. And likewise, Adam Asnu from Bayern Munich, who's another youngster who will go on to great things. Look at that for a pedigree. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Birmingham, all of the big three, big B clubs. Welcome, Adam. And because they were all free transfers, we didn't really have to sell anyone to fund it either. We did move a few players out of the club on loan, most notably Braden Manu, who with the arrival of Danny Ings wasn't going to get the game time he got last year. Did get 19 goals for us in League One, so definitely did a job. But for a guy who came in on a free transfer, got us promoted, to make money on the loan and send him to Serie A for a year just seems like sensible business for a guy we knew we weren't going to use. And Carlos Mendes Gomez, who we signed to be a stopgap and claimed at the time it wasn't going to be a very good signing, we've sold on for a massive profit. So, I mean, that, again, it's just good business, isn't it? I love signing players for cheap and selling them on for the opposite of cheap. Form-wise, we've started the season pretty much the way we ended it. Lots and lots of wins. Only recent Premier League side Luton ruining our day so far. But after 6 games, we're second in the league behind Fulham. And the media think we're looking good for, at the very least, a playoff spot. And we've got players in the Dream 11 as a newly promoted team. Dan Burn and Best, both in the media Dream 11. And Silla, although not in the Dream 11, is the 3rd best player in the Championship. So we know we've got some quality. Can we go back to back? Of course we can. Start of January and we're top of the league. 2 points clear of Fulham, 7 points clear of Luton, and Dan Burns, the best player in the Championship. That is the kind of world I very much want a part of. We have been excellent. Remember, it's not massively outside the realms of possibility that Birmingham could do something like this under the right management, because in real life they were close to the playoffs in the Championship last year before they sacked John Eustace and it all went wrong. So strengthening the team in League One, bringing in the kind of quality that's already started to come in real life, should lead to League One promotion, and that then should be a stronger team, which theoretically should be competitive at the top end of the Championship as well. So far, so kind of what it should be in real life. We did have to be a bit more active this January, though, than the previous one, with a few of the more established players wanting away from the club, the most notable of which, Tyler Roberts, wasn't happy at his lack of game time behind Danny Ings, so we were able to get £3.5 million for him, which the fact that Portsmouth are playing that in League One, modern football is broken, but he's gone to Portsmouth for big money. We also loaned out our captain, Dion Sanderson. He's gone on loan to Lugo until the end of the season. They've paid £500,000 for the pleasure of taking him. Ryan Alsop, who was our starting keeper when we were in League One, has gone to Darmstadt in Germany for £500,000. Another guy we've made a transfer profit on. Siriki Dembele, who was a huge part of the promotion team last year, but lost his spot to Dan James this year, has gone out on loan to Mallorca for almost as much as we paid to sign him. And then the biggest surprise, Lee Buchanan, who wasn't able to get in the team because of the lad who was on loan from Bayern Munich, was very unhappy at only starting 9 games. He's somebody who I've got high hopes for the future. I don't think this is the end for Lee Buchanan, more a case of get him out on loan, playing some games in Serie A, and then he can come back next season and play for us in the Premier League. That's the plan. All of which left us with some money to spend, so spend it we did. We got this guy in on loan from Benfica until the end of the season, who, makes it even harder for Siriki Dembele to get into the team, but he looks like he's a bit of a special one. A regular of mine in rebuilds and let's plays, and any opportunity I get to sign Shay Charles, really, I'll take that opportunity. He's in on loan from Southampton until the end of the season. Would love to make this guy a permanent signing. He's just the perfect fit for that defensive midfield and centre-back position. Love the versatility. Love Shay Charles, really. And then Luzao is, I think, our first Brazilian signing of the day. First of many, of course. He's on loan from West Ham until the end of the season to provide competition for places at centre-back. Issa Kabore has come in from Manchester City, initially on loan, but we do have the option to sign him permanently if we play him 15 matches. That permanent deal goes through, so expect him to become a permanent Birmingham City player. William Troost-Ekong is another centre-back who's come in, 6'3". We like a big boy at the back. And then with Tyler Roberts leaving, we needed some competition to Danny Ings as a backup striker. Ante Budimir, Croatian international. Yes, he's 34, but he was cheap. He only cost us £1.2 million, and he's basically a £1.2 million insurance policy for if Ings gets injured, because we don't really have a backup striker. And at 6'3", he's definitely going to be useful at doing a particular kind of job for us. If anything, he's a plan B to have on the bench, which, as you can see, he's already demonstrated he can come off the bench and score a goal for us. Which means a year and a half into the save, this is now what the game considers to be our best 11. I mean, a couple of these guys aren't even at the club currently, so if we swap in the players that are actually here, obviously Dan Burn in that position, it is absurd that this is a team that was in League One last year. Shea Charles and Arthur Vermeeren as a central midfield partnership is bonkers. Silla's scoring for fun. Danny Ings, Dan Burn. This is a good football team that should, I would like to think, be heading to the Premier League. And heading to the Premier League we are, albeit in second place and only on goal difference over Sheffield United, but I don't care how we do it, as long as we do it. We've got promoted, back-to-back promotions. Birmingham City return to the Premier League. And we've done it in style. Goals being shared around our fancy attacking players. The Danny Ings signing, I think, fully justified, coming in with 16 goals. Obviously, he's not going to be able to play for us in the Premier League next year at 33 years old. Likewise, Dan Burn will probably look to move on as well. Although, to be fair, Dan Burn's had a cracking season for us, playing at centre-back and weighing in with 7 goals as well. We're likely to lose the likes of Asnu, Vermeeren, Shea Charles. If we can throw some money at them to sign any of them permanently, that would be great. I don't think we're going to be able to sign Vermeeren permanently, but it's been a lot of fun having him here with us whilst he goes off to play international football for Belgium as well. And because we're back in the Premier League, of course, we have a stupendous amount of money to spend. £34 million of a transfer budget, plus a massive increase in wage budget. This is going to be a fun summer, boys and girls. And this, boys and girls, is how you spend £34 million. Firstly, you generate £43 million, so you've got even more money to spend. Lee Buchanan, forget the plan to play him in the Premier League. Norwich offered us nearly £20 million to keep him in the Championship, so I think we can upgrade on him. So he's gone. Sariki Dembele has gone to Ipswich for £19.5 million. On Sanderson, who was our captain down in League One, he's gone to Hertha for £2 million, getting to play in the Bundesliga after playing in the second tier of Spain last year. We've loaned Braden Manu out again. He's gone to Lecce on a fee-paying loan. Bielik has gone to Salernitana. Bielik's gone to Italy. That left us quite the war chest to go out and spend. So, first one through the door, Issa Kabore, just confirming his permanent signing after the loan last season. We then brought in Carlos Martin, who'd been a fringe player at Atletico. Carlos Fernandez, in a similar vein, has been playing the last several years for Real Sociedad in La Liga and can offer some competition at centre forward. Not sure I'd want to use him as my starting striker, but between him and Ings, we could probably muster up a few goals. This is probably my most exciting signing of the summer, Alban Lafont. One of the key things when you're going to be in a relegation battle is signing a proper goalkeeper, and Alban Lafont is a proper goalkeeper. So we spent over £11 million to bring in a proper Premier League quality goalkeeper. Luzau joined us permanently, having been on loan last year. He was released by West Ham on a free at the end of the season. Nuno Moreira, formerly of Sporting, most recently of Casapia, able to play anywhere across the attacking midfield three. So lots of options with him. Luka Verbancic is a very exciting young player, Croatian under-21 international, can play centre mid or attacking mid. Picked him up for an absolute steal, less than £5 million. He could go on to be a proper top-class player for us. Ilya Gruev has come in from Leeds, Bulgarian international, proper tough tackling central midfielder to again help us kick our way through a relegation battle. He'll be joined by Frank Onyeka doing a similar job. He comes in from Brentford. And then towards the end of the window, this was like a week before the window closed, we were able to bring in a proper striker, Alexander Mitrovic, who spent the last couple of years playing for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, but obviously has proven pedigree of scoring goals for fun in the Premier League. And I think he's going to end up being an absolutely crucial player for us. 32 years old now, but still absolutely rammed full of ability and goals and aerial threat. I loves me an aerial threat, which of course meant we had loads of money left over. So we've set ourselves a couple of little side missions as part of making Birmingham the biggest team in Birmingham. We'd like to bring the Bellinghams back. Job one, Jobe Bellingham is now a Birmingham City player again. We did spend £41 million to bring him in from Tottenham. I dare not imagine how much his brother is going to be if we manage to sign him before the end of the save. But Jobe Bellingham's here. That's one Bellingham down, one to go. He's not actually good enough to get into our team, but the team itself is looking very, very solid. As you can see, we've got a lot of strength throughout the team, having that important core of Lafont, Mitrovic, Gruev, Silla, and Jordan James, who's been an absolute revelation. He's here at the start of the save as a young player at Birmingham, was fantastic in League One, Championship, and the first half of this season in the Premier League as well. Has been really, really solid. Now worth nearly £80 million as a 22-year-old, full Welsh international. He is a little homegrown superstar who is making it so that we didn't need Arthur Vermeeren after all, and has led us towards mid-table in the first half of this first season back in the Premier League. We've got a long way to go to catch Villa. As you can see, they're up there 10 points ahead of us, hovering just outside the Champions League spots, but we've still got 2.5 years to catch them. That's loads of time. If we manage to finish comfortable mid-table, I'll be a happy little chappy, because by all rights, we should be in a relegation battle. Even halfway through the season, the media still think we're favourites to go back down again. So we're outperforming our ability, and we've got a whole bunch of money to spend in January to try and push us on a little bit further as well. And of course, spend it we have. Omar Alderete has come in as a new centre-back for us. Yes, he's 30, but we don't care about signing young players in this save. This is all about bringing in quality now. We're on a tight schedule to try and get past Villa. So £12 million for a 30-year-old who's Premier League ready and really high quality, and an improvement on our other centre-backs. That works for me in a save like this. We've also got another one of my personal favourites in, Adama Traore, comes in on loan until the end of the season from Fulham. This guy single-handedly won me the network game and proved that I'm better at Football Manager than Zealand a few years ago. And I'm always delighted to team back up with Traore again. He's on loan until the end of the season, when he will join us permanently. Yes, we're massively overpaying for him, but he's Adama Traore, so it doesn't matter. Mauro Arambari is another Premier League quality, little bit older, but you know what? Improves us now, central midfielder. And then the most exciting signing of the save so far, Cole Palmer has joined us on loan from Chelsea until the end of the season, which isn't extraordinary in and of itself. What is extraordinary is we've managed to get him to agree to join us permanently as part of the deal. So he's in on loan now, joins us permanently in the summer. Cole Palmer is a blue, and this is a sign of the direction we're heading in, that we're able to bring in a player of that kind of quality to build our team around. If we can sign him, maybe it's not completely outside the realms of possibility that we could bring in Jude Bellingham at some point as well. We definitely can't. He's at Real Madrid. He is unaffordable. Spoilers, right? We're not going to sign Jude Bellingham. We'd love to. We're not going to. This isn't me setting up a Jude Bellingham signing. He isn't coming. But Cole Palmer is already here. And with those extra signings, that extra little bit of depth, we were able to finish 10th in the Premier League come the end of the season. Only a few spots behind Villa, actually. 6 points behind Villa, 3 spaces behind them. They only ended up in the Conference League, so they're going to make our job easier if they start to tumble down, although as well as finishing above them by the end of the save, I kind of would like to get us in the Champions League as well. Because if we just finish above them, they'll still be like, yeah, but we played in the Champions League a few years ago. So we've got to be able to counter that part of it. So, but we're catching them, and that's important. This is how our team is looking now. Our best 11 is something to behold. Mitrovic, Palmer and Traore as part of that front three. And obviously Best is still here as well. The German we brought in when we were in the Championship, who's made the step up to the Premier League just fine. James continues to get better and better. Ethan Laird, by the way, is another one who's been here since the start, was great for us in League One and the Championship, and has not looked out of place at all in the Premier League either. So he is doing great work also. We've got not as much money as we had last summer. Having just got promoted, we have now had a message from the board. The board have decided now is the time for them to start withdrawing some of their financial support of the club. So we're not going to be able to throw money around the way we could throw it around previously. But we are now a mid-table Premier League team again, and we've just got to build from there. We've got Cole Palmer coming in permanently. It doesn't get much better than that. And it is worth noting as well that that £12 million budget is after the pre-arranged transfers of Cole Palmer and Adama Traore have gone through. That's more than £50 million just on those two. So it's not as if we've got a tiny budget to work with. So those transfers were confirmed. Palmer joining us for £23 million from Chelsea, and Adama Traore, £31 million coming in from Fulham. I still think it's a good deal. We complemented them with Aiden Toklamati, who's come in from Nottingham Forest to be an attacking utility man for us. We brought in another new goalkeeper. We thought Lafont was good last year. We've upgraded again. Guillaume Restes has joined us from Toulouse for £13 million. And we now have one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League who's young enough to keep getting better. Absolutely delighted with that as a signing. And then we got ourselves a Brazilian wonder kid. You got to get yourself a Brazilian wonder kid. Tiago, 18 years old, Brazilian new gem. He's got 5 stars worth of potential, joining us on loan initially, but joins us permanently as soon as his contract in Brazil expires. We probably don't have time with 2 years of the save left to develop an 18-year-old Brazilian wonder kid, but if you thought I was going to do a save without signing one, you've lost your mind. To fund all that, we did move some of our players on. Danny Ings definitely served a purpose, but at 35 years old now, and only with 8 Premier League goals last year, we let his contract expire. He's gone down to the Championship to try and do the job again with Bristol City. We also let Bailey Peacock Farrell go. In real life, Birmingham have apparently paid £2.5 million for this guy. That seems bizarre. We never really used him. We've sold him to West Brom. Dan Burn was also allowed to leave. He actually made the step back up to the Premier League just fine, but was old enough to be like, yeah, okay, go and play in Serie A. Nice little retirement league for you. We sold Nuno Moreira for £7 million. Never really established himself. Only started 9 games. Sold him on at a profit. This is the kind of business that you use to fund pushing on to the next level. Sign him cheap or free. Sell him on, having not really used him. That's transfer business. Seung Ho, who'd been a fantastic servant for us lower down the leagues, spent last season on loan in La Liga. He's now gone to Werder Bremen for £4 million. We wish him luck. We've moved beyond him now. Likewise, Koji Miyoshi, he's gone to Antwerp, having been out on loan at Swansea last season. Carlos Fernandez, another example of that business model. Sign him for free, don't really use them, sell them for a profit. It's how you fund the new players. This is how you can afford to waste £30 million on Adama Traore. We finally got some money for Braden Manu as well, who'd had 2 years out on loan at Lecce in Serie A and has now joined Sassuolo. Shows what a good signing he was in League One, that since playing that one season for us in League One and being deemed not good enough for us in the Championship, has played 3 straight years in Serie A. And then we moved on, the last of the League One, never really was going to be good enough for this level players, Christian Bielik, who never fully recovered from his cruciate ligament damage. We sent him out on loan to Salernitana last year in Italy, and now he's gone to Cagliari for £4 million. Which means our best 11 now looks like this. So Mitrovic, Palmer, Traore, best. What a front four. James continues to get better. Laird continues to get better. Restes is a massive improvement. Did I even mention we signed Josh Tymon for £12 million a year ago? We did, and he's been very good at left back. And the media now looking at us as a team that might just avoid relegation. We've obviously got bigger plans than that. Not that you'd know it from the way we started the season. We're 4 games in and we're 17th in the league. Second season syndrome, anyone? At least Mitrovic is top scorer in the Premier League. It's definitely an era of big meaty boys, as you can see. But luckily that poor form at the start of the season didn't last, and by the halfway point we've made it up to 8th in the league. Still frustratingly behind Aston Villa, but only by 1 point now. And we have started to get a little bit of a run of form going. Still, annoyingly, Villa do have our number, them beating us and losing 3 games in a row just before I come back and show you how we're getting on is a little bit of a frustration. My players had different plans though and decided that we had a lack of strength in depth at centre-back, so we had to go out and sign some centre-backs. So Christoph Clara has joined us on loan from Liverpool. No plans to use him, but that wasn't enough to calm down the grumpy boys. Callum Doyle was though. He comes in from Manchester City on loan until the end of the season. Again, don't really plan to use him, but they both give us some strength in depth at centre-back. Andre Borza does the same job for us at left back, and he's actually going to be joining us permanently at the end of his loan. And we've also started clearing out some of the players who came in as fringe players and never really established themselves. So Frank Onyeka, first big transfer failure, I think, of the save, came in for 4 million, loaned him out after 6 months. We've now sold him after another year. He never really established himself. Likewise, Aaron Barry, never really establishing himself, only started 3 games so far this season. He's gone out on loan. And Luzau has gone back to Brazil, having not really got himself into our team since we've been a Premier League side. But the rest of the signings have been good enough to ensure us a second successive mid-table finish, 11th in the league at the end of season 4. We have ended up 5 points behind Aston Villa, who now finished 8th and didn't qualify for Europe at all. Mitrovic did finish as second top scorer in the league on 20 goals with Alexander Isak, well behind Erling Haaland, but Mitrovic absolutely rattling in the goals this season. After a slowish start the season before, this is another one of his best ever years at, what is he, 34 now? 33 years old, which means we've got 1 more year to add the finishing pieces of the puzzle to make us the biggest team in Birmingham. We have got a long way to go to take us from 11th place in the league to A, finishing above Villa, which actually looked quite doable looking at that league table, but B, getting this team into the Champions League. We finished 22 points behind 4th place this season. That's going to be a tough one. But when in doubt, throw money at the problem. £121 million spent this summer. We got a big chunk of money from the board, but an even bigger chunk of money from selling some players. The first of which was Joe Bellingham, who's barely played since we spent £41 million on him. We've loaned him out to Monza. He might have been a mistake. Definitely not going to sign his brother now. We did, however, cash in on Alexander Mitrovic, who for the second time in his career has turned his back on a Premier League side after an excellent season to go and play in Saudi Arabia. This boy loves money, clearly. And this time he's gone to Al Nassr. They're paying him £625,000 a week. We couldn't really argue with it. So he's moved on. The only other player we sold for significant money was Luka Vrbancic, who never really worked out, never really became a regular starter for us, but we were able to sell him on at a massive profit. £6 million to sign him, 20 million to sell him. He's gone down to the Championship and he'll have a lovely time playing for Sheffield United. But we were able to take that money and reinvest in some superstars. Firstly, Andre Borza signed permanently, not necessarily a superstar, but goodness me, that's a good piece of business. £5 million now worth £40 million. And we also brought in Lucas Asadi, who's a Chilean international left winger who can also play up front, formerly of Paris Saint-Germain. That's the kind of calibre of player you want to be signing if you're going to get in the Champions League. Maxime Esteve is a French centre-back who comes in from Burnley. That's not necessarily the calibre of player you bring in to get into the Champions League. It's fine. Samu is a Portuguese defensive midfield player who was previously at Mallorca. This guy, Football Manager legend, Nelson Weeper. This guy, the big Nelson, as I'm sure we all know him as, 6'4". I've had him in Football Manager saves before, and he is an absolute beast, I think the young people say. Perfect replacement for Mitrovic. He's 10 years younger and as good in the air, but also got some pace as well. So I expect Wiper to score a few goals for us, that's for sure. Mohamed Kamara has come in from Young Boys to be some competition for places at centre-back and defensive midfield. Boubakary Soumare has loaned in from Brighton with a permanent move going through at the end of the season. Delane Bakwa was a big money signing. We spent nearly £30 million on him as another option on the wings, very quick. Having him charging up and down the wings and getting those crosses onto the head of Wiper feels like a good route to goal for us. Spike Brits has come in on loan loan as our new backup goalkeeper because we decided to loan Lafont back to Manchester City again. We loaned Brits on the 27th of August from Man City. Lafont went on loan to City 4 days later. So we basically done a swap of our backup goalkeepers. And then the big unexpected deadline day signing, João Felix has signed for Birmingham for just £9 million, still only 28 years old, has barely played a game of football since his loan at Chelsea. But he's still João Felix, and we've now got an attack that involves this guy, Cole Palmer, and Nelson Wiper. That feels like an attack. If we look at what our best 11 is, that's madness. Obviously, we've got the new guy who would go in there. But that front four is insane. We've got Jordan James, who just gets better and better and better alongside Samu. The back four is excellent, although it's not had a lot of investment over the last few years. It's been very solid since it's been together, and we've still got one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. So that seems to me like a very good side. The media still think we're going to be in a relegation battle, but we started the season well, 5 games in, level on points at the top of the league. But frustratingly, with Aston Villa, that's something we're going to need to get our head around. But it's the final season. Can we finish above Villa? That's all that matters. And at the halfway point of the season, it is looking good. As you can see, 1st of January, we are second in the league. 5 points behind top of the table Arsenal, but with a game in hand. But that's not even the important part. The important part is we are 6 points ahead of Aston Villa, and we're in a Champions League qualification spot. The first half of the season has very much gone our way. You can see Wiper is scoring goals for fun, as we thought he would. Second top scorer in the league, has very much picked up where Mitrovic left off, and in fact probably doing even better. 15 goals from 19 starts. He's also made his Germany debut and scored on his debut for Germany as well, so he's a proper German international as well, and he is very much firing us to super funland, along with the performances of Palmer and João Felix creating for him. We knew it was a snazzy attack, and a snazzy attack it is. So we didn't want to do too much to rock the boat in January. It was more a case of getting rid of the players who were unhappy or not being used, the headline of which was Ilya Gruev, who's gone to Sheffield United for £26 million, having only started 2 games so far this season. And the first player through the door to replace him was Elias Gellert, who we actually had agreed to sign back in the summer. Ozan Kabak is some investment in the back four. We said we hadn't done this in a little while. Well, now we have. He's come in from Borussia Dortmund for £34 million. Andre joins from Liverpool for just £3 million, which seemed like a decent option for a squad player. 10 caps for Brazil for £3 million makes sense. We've got some competition for the centre forward position as well. Caio Jorge, who's a player I last signed in Football Manager about 6 years ago, and it seems like he's still quite good. Scores goals for fun in Brazil and will be there as a backup for Wiper up front. And then we also brought in this guy, Gustav Lagerbielke, another centre back, again just to get some strength in depth into the defensive positions, because it's an area where the squad was looking a little bit weak. Our best 11 now looks like this, which is a pretty strong best 11 if you ask me, and we just need to cling on until the end of the season. You can see January itself hasn't actually gone that well. We lost almost every game in January, which is not ideal. And with 14 games to go, we are now back below Villa again, 3 points below Villa and outside of the Champions League qualification spots again. So we need to recapture that form that we had in the first half of the season. We've got an Aston Villa to take down, and we've done it. We've just pipped Villa to 5th place in the Premier League. We've finished on 69 points. They've finished on 65. We are just outside of the Champions League qualification spots. But crucially, I mean, you can see the league table for yourself. We are the biggest team in Birmingham. We've finished above Aston Villa. Wiper finishing on 24 goals, so he's had an absolutely fantastic season. We've also had some good goal contributions from João Felix. I still think it's insane that he's a Birmingham City player. Cole Palmer has been good for us, but has now decided he wants to run down his contract. So we're probably going to have to sell him this summer, but that feels like somebody else's problem. And this is the final best 11 of the save, and as you can see, That's a pretty strong team. That's better than anything Villa had to offer. And of course, there is still the possibility, as we sit here on the final day of the season, that depending on how the finals of the Champions League, Europa League, and the coefficient stuff go, we could yet still sneak into the Champions League. We need to continue forward just a little bit more. And we've only got to done it. Birmingham qualify for the UEFA Champions League in 5th place through the UEFA coefficient stuff. But that's it. Job done. 5 years later, we've gone from League One to the Champions League. We've crucially finished above Aston Villa, and we are the only Birmingham team who are in the Champions League next year. So we've achieved absolutely everything we set out to achieve. There's only one more thing left to do. £246 million for Jude Bellingham. Lovely, lovely, lovely. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more Football Manager content. Let me know down in the comments section what you thought of this style of video. What stuff along these lines would you like to see? What teams would you like to see me rebuild? Suggestions for improvements. We're still learning how to do this kind of content, but I've really enjoyed this one. Hopefully you have too. And thank you very much for watching.